What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry about the awkward intro. I'm currently driving and I did not like the way I started out the first introduction, so sorry about it being all kind of mixed up here. But if you guys can't tell by the title of the video, we are going to be fly fishing the Blue River today, and we are also going to be talking about if the Blue River is really that good of a fishery and if it's worth fishing it. But yeah, now I'm going to get to the rest of the intro. Now, before I give you guys my personal opinion, we're going to do a little bit of fishing, talk to you guys how I fish. But before we get into the video, I just want to give you guys a little bit of information on the Blue River if you guys don't know already. It is a tailwater, comes out of Dillon Reservoir. It has brown trout, rainbow trout, and then gets a fall run of kokanee salmon. Now, there are Misc shrimp that dump out of the river, so the browns and the rainbows both get super beautiful beautiful colorations on them. Browns turn to this real bright orange hue, and the rainbows get a fire red belly and red stripe down their side. But that's really only going for the fish right below the dam, further down where I'm at right now in the troutlets. Those fish don't see the Misc at all, so they're really foraging on, the scuds that are in the river, blue wings, caddis, midges. Same stuff that the fish up top are feeding on, just without the Misc. Now, it is predominantly a stock fishery. The browns are 100% wild. The kokanee are almost all wild, but the rainbows are not. Not a single rainbow is of wild spawn. They are put in by CPW to promote a fishery. It once held wild rainbow trout that used to grow absolutely giant, back when the Misc really flowed through the river. Now, not so much. There's still Misc that flow through the river, but not like how it used to, say 30 years ago when wild rainbow trout were everywhere and they were munching on Misc like crazy. They turned into those big old blimps that you see on the Taylor and frying pan. But yeah, the Blue River, there's a lot of fish. Not as much as some of the other tailwaters, again, like the frying pan, Taylor, Cheeseman, stuff like that. There's a big misconception with all the publication and media on the Blue River. You'd think some people would talk about how the fish populations aren't that high, and you figure that out very quickly when you fish the likely waters, right? The runs, the riffles, stuff like that, where you think fish should be and you don't catch a single fish. So I've written blogs about this on the Golden Fly Shop website, but I'll mention it here as well. If you guys are fishing the Blue River, you have to be sight fishing. If you are not sight fishing, you're just not going to catch fish. Because like I said, fish populations aren't nearly as high as they promote it to be. So when you're fishing a riffle, you're fishing a run, and you're wondering why you aren't catching fish, there's probably just not a fish there. So I usually just walk around until I see red stripe in the river and, lead the fish accordingly, make a good drift. A lot of times I don't focus on the flies a ton, but sometimes they can be very, very picky. You'll notice in this video today, there are some scenarios where the fish just were being ultra picky. But is the Blue River a good fishery? Well, in this video, you can kind of pick and choose what you personally think, right? I caught some great rainbows, great fish. Some pros to the Blue River, it being a good fishery, right? Big fish, that is a big plus. It's an hour from the Denver metro, hour and a half, depending on where you're at. So very, very close to the metro. Big fish. There's plenty of food in the river, so it's not like you're throwing, like pellet flies or something like that, like you would in North Carolina for their stock fisheries. Here, you actually have to earn it. So, it's like another tailwater where you're fishing tiny stuff, tiny bugs. That's a pro plus a con, right? One more pro that I think a lot of people don't realize is the blue will actually make you a better fisherman, right? I was talking about how you have to sight fish this river, and you notice today I was sight fishing. There was only a couple of times where I was blind casting. That's only because I couldn't see into the river. Learning those skills on how to sight fish on the blue is going to translate to every single trout fishery you go to, right? The Blue River, I would say these fish are incredibly difficult to see. The rocks are all different colors on the bottom. Even though it's crystal clear and they are stock fish, so keep that in mind again, but they do adapt to their surroundings, right? These fish, even though, again, they are a little bit pale already, they're stockers, their hue changes, even more. When they're fresh in this river, they're like a yellowish hue coming out of the hatchery, but after about a month in here, they turn super silver. So they adapt really, really well, and they're hard to see. So I guess without carrying on in this conversation, learning to sight fish here and becoming proficient is going to make you a very, very, very good angler. And I would say it's been one of the most helpful things I've ever done you know, while actually fishing to make myself a better fisherman. Now, aside from that, some cons. Okay, we already talked about how it's kind of a tailwater fishery. You got to fish tiny bugs, tiny tippet. You know, like I should have been fishing a 4-weight today. I had my 5-weight, and you saw there's a couple times where I bent out hooks. That big brown, if I had a 4-weight, I probably would have landed that fish, but the 5-weight just had too much power and bent that 22 wide open. So that's a negative. You're fighting big fish on light gear because it's a tailwater. Not as ideal. Another not ideal situation is it is also an hour and a half from Denver, so that's a pro, but that's also a con, right? Because it gets a lot of traffic, and that traffic matched with low fish counts is not good. You know, there's only a couple holes where fish consistently hold. There's a couple outliers, right? And you have to spend your time sight fishing them, but there's just a ton of people, and if the spots are taken, the spots are taken. And you can't just fish the likely runs and expect to catch a fish, because I promise you, you won't. So that's big con. And then, you know, another, I guess I already mentioned, fish populations being super low. You know, the river, it doesn't get a ton of natural reproduction. That's a bad part. So that's why it's also relying on heavy stocking, and there is some stocking of brown trout, but not a ton. So that's a pro and a con, right? They can manage a fishery pretty well with the stocking situation, but we're also relying on the CPW to stock the river. So that's kind of going both ways. Personally, I'd say I'd rather fish for wild fish. I don't care about catching stocked fish, not at all. I mean, they're challenging here. It's not easy. So is it really worth fishing here in the middle of a city right next to I-70? I'll leave that one up to you. I would say day in and day out, I would not be fishing this place a ton. You know, I fish this river maybe twice a year. One time just like dedicated, like today, dedicated full day to fishing here, and the other is usually if the Eagle River or fishing further out west isn't good, on my way home I'll just fish the blue, and usually I can catch a fish. So I like it. I don't like it. It's made me a better fisherman. It's got big fish. I don't like being in the middle of a town with the mall right behind me. You know, there's a Chipotle right over there. You know, that's cool. You can go get some lunch on the water. But I would not say that the Blue River is a good fishery, nor would I say fishing here is worth it if you are particularly traveling from outside of Colorado. There's a lot of cooler things. If you're just so happen to be passing through and you have 2 hours to kill, then yes, I would highly recommend fishing the Blue River. But that's my personal opinion. You guys can absolutely scrutinize me, because this is all 100% opinion based. There is no right or wrong opinion. I just firmly believe that it's a good fishery, but not good enough. So anyways, I'm gonna kind of close this out now. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. And if you guys stuck around long enough, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.